Broadcasting live from the mixed-up world of Hyrule, this is the Link to the Past Randomizer Invitational League Finals, Game 4. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Bobtastic. Joining me today on commentary is Daemonistic. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Bob. It is a wonderful day. Game 4, up 2-1. Vendrana Drifters up against Triple Dino Disaster. This could be it, folks. I hope you're ready for this. Got your snacks, got everything ready, because they're about to get going here.
If Megawott wins this particular race, the whole series will go to the Vendrana Drifters, and Yoshi here is going to try to even up the score. Now, for those of you paying attention, hello! That's a hook shot to start with. That is certainly a thing you want to see.
Well, being that this isn't any sort of start that begins with boots or anything, it's certainly a much faster way to traverse the world. Also gives us an opportunity to stun enemies and even, get particular drops. So it's very handy early game for both information and utility.
Already in the... So I like Yoshi's play already just having that awareness. I've got the hook shot. I can use that to grab this drop that just happened. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Time saved. As in addition to the all dungeons key sanity going on with this mode, we do also have vanilla swords, so our uncle here is not a randomized location in that sense. Though he could have had a different sword if we were really ambitious.
Yeah, so the swords in this particular seed will be, let's just say a little bit difficult to come by. If you really want tempered, you can get it out of the Pyramid Fairy, but we may end up seeing some Master Sword finishes here.
Yeah, as getting the pedestal would be quite a pain. And yeah, I mean, even unless you're doing the Smith chain, I don't think you really want to take the time to get that tempered.
Well, I mean, I think probably the Smith chain is the second easiest sword to get, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, so I guess it depends on what we end up doing. It is an all dungeon seed, so it wouldn't be that hard to get, I guess. I'm thinking of the other pyramid one, I mean.
Right, yeah, the pyramid one. That one, I wouldn't be opposed to getting it, especially if you're able to get those 5-6 crystals early. But if since it is all dungeons, since we have to get all the pendants, if you're in the vicinity and you have all the pendants, you might as well grab the silly pedestal. I didn't even think about that. Hello.
Well, we do have some early diversions going on here between the two. Yoshi, previous Season 2 champion, opting to go to the Kakariko route through the Lost Woods as we see a full escape sequence from Megawott. Just to talk a little bit about these two, Megawott undefeated this season, 11-0, whereas Yoshi is 10-1. Quite an astounding record between these two teams and these two players in particular. And really excited to see what happens here today.
That's straight up gross, not gonna lie.
Yeah, imagine being 1,000. Just batting every single time and just hitting a home run.
Yeah. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I do like Megawatt's play of doing the full escape sequence if, when you have the whole, the sword available. The only problem with this is it could be a hot minute before you're able to get to the back of escape, and who knows when that could happen.
Yeah, that's true. 3 Hearts not exactly a fun experience for that, and then you aren't even guaranteed, like you mentioned before, the keys to get there. But in lieu of a glove, which we have not found in either player's screens, it's potentially a very valuable find. And Megawatt's full commit to that, so Megawatt is actually heading on over to Dark Cross as we see Yoshi clearing out the rest of Kakariko.
All right, so a nice chunk of change toward potential Zora money there for Yoshi. Also picking up, hey, there's that Hyrule Castle key.
So that'll be sour grapes for certain once we do arrive in Kakariko over on Megawatt's side.
Just a piece of heart in Dark Cross, so nothing super important. So basically, you're going to want to hopefully find a glove before you have to go to back of escape. Having a glove back there would just be kind of the worst.
You know, what about a glove for your toes? Yoshi here finding the flippers. Interestingly enough, that'll actually be kind of handy as we head over towards the South Shore. Convenient routing, at least, to try and get everything.
Yep, and there's the Moon Pearl if you didn't want to go to Zora already.
Yeah, so I would think money farming, something that both of these two are going to consider leaving Kakariko.
Yeah, I would definitely consider like a quick Houlihan or something like that before heading to South Shore. Granted, I have the terrible habit of every time I do a Key Sanity seed, I'm opening with Houlihan no matter what. So...
You know, it's definitely wiser in that circumstance. When you already know you have to contend with all the keys of Hyrule, it doesn't hurt to have a couple of extra rupees in your pocket.
Speaking of keys, we got one on the race game. What is it? It is...
Da-na-na-na.
Oh, one of the very, very useful Castle Tower small keys. Again, you know, you don't want to have to do Aga, but when you're doing all dungeons, guess what? You have to do Aga, so there you go.
And of course, one of the least favorite things for anybody playing all dungeons, let alone Key Sanity, is the possibility of needing just that one key to get 2 items in the tower. And if you did require that for a double dip, that is a lengthy time expenditure and not fun to come back to when you get that second key. As a means of clarifying, folks, you do have to destroy both Aghanim 1 and 2 in all dungeons, so that's definitely something they'll be doing at one point.
Oh, hello! We got Kena Samaria inside the dam here. The completely not broken item. I don't know what you're talking about.
What? There would never be a glitch in this game. Definitely not with that cane, though.
Oh boy.
Well, finding a bunch of magic decanters on the bush crab, that means we do not have another convenient farming location. We'll see if Mini Moldorm Cave can catapult us beyond the required Zora count.
Alright, so 5 items here in Mini Moldorm Cave. What do we have? Big 20, a cape, a Turtle Rock small key, along with a Turtle Rock defeating implement known as the Ice Rod, and the flute.
Yeah, hefty bounty here in Mini Moldorm Cave. Yoshi gonna continue the chain? No, he is out of here.
I mean, when you get the flute, you might as well just go activate it, and you can just flute to 8 and get back, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of other money management here, seeing as Yoshi does have more towards that total, but not quite enough, we also see Megawatt buying bombs, so a little bit more, I guess, studious bomb farming and, you know, taking the time to get them from Yoshi as he's not spent that money.
Yep.
It would definitely be a very bad feeling to have to go back into Ruby Cave over by Desert a second time, or one more time. But probably not the worst time expenditure.
All right, everybody say hi to everybody's favorite Swag Duck as he comes out of the statue there.
You know, I gotta say, this little friend of ours has come quite the long journey and quite the long way to help us rescue Hyrule.
Yeah. It's a good thing. I mean, usually a necessary thing, especially for all dungeons. But always useful, no matter what particular mode you're dealing with.
And even if you didn't need it for Mire, you could absolutely use that bird to set an altitude variable and do some wonky things with fire rods, which is great. I love it.
Yep, totally not broken at all. No idea what you're talking about. All right, it's old man time. Old man o'clock, I guess, if that's a thing.
Well, it's half past pocket change for that old man. He is going back into the cave for a nap. As we see Yoshi heading back up to the top of the mountain, just a heart and a half to his name. Got to be careful. Also, potential danger for Megawatt as we have Mini Moldorm Cave and crabs. Neither of those are very fun with low health.
Yeah, 3 hearts to start with. Not the world's most. Haven't really gotten enough hearts to speak of at all. That is a big key in Spectacle Rock, so I expect Yoshi to go ahead and grab that.
Yeah, since we're kind of looking over keys at the moment, just a quick review of keys necessary and unnecessary in Key Sanity, folks. For those of you who don't play this mode a lot, we can skip big keys in a couple of dungeons. Swamp Palace, Skull Woods, not strictly required.
Speaking of which, there's Swamp.
However, it's entirely possible in a Key Sanity seed for that to be a big chest that we need to open, so we'll see whether or not Yoshi ends up getting burned on that one. There's no way that Megawatt doesn't also pick that up, but it could potentially have boots for it.
All right, Yoshi now headed for the biggest, the most dense location for chests available at the moment, and pretty much the most dense location. I mean, if you're only counting the room for items, and that is 7 chests here in Paradox Cave. So called because its geometry does not match the outdoor geometry.
What, you're saying that he didn't just fall up the cave? Yoshi's about to climb down the ladder.
Don't know what you're talking about. Oh, there's the other castle tower key. That's very interesting.
Yeah, as of yet, we don't have a logical Dark World access beyond that. So that second castle tower key, if we find a lamp, could actually be the way we get up there.
Yeah, I mean the cape gives you access to the tower itself, which we have, and then who knows what we find from there. I think that's all the Skull Woods keys.
That's all the Skull Woods everything. At this point, we're just looking for a fire rod.
I mean, minus the big key, of course, but.
I mean, who looks for that?
All right, so Zora money now achieved with that 300 rupees in Paradox Cave. But yeah, for once, this All Dungeons Key Sanity is not going to be a Castle Tower key hunt. I don't know what we did to deserve this.
And it's certainly not going to be an ice rod hunt either. Quite the divergence in the deviation from the norm here in Rando.
Yeah, it'll be a swamp key hunt.
That's horrible. I love it though.
Or maybe like a GT big key hunt or something. That happens occasionally.
Once or twice. But here we are heading into the Spiral Cave check. That is just a map as we get, looks like Eastern Palace and Sahasrahla from Megawatt. Pretty much our one remaining dense location.
All right, so Yoshi now fluting away, heading to 8 now it looks like. So we're going to get that Ice Rod Cave and potentially some Zora check. Okay, Ice Palace is our green pendant. And a bow in the back of Sahasrahla's closet. That is a very interesting place to find a bow. Especially because that gives you access to stuff in Eastern, if you had the big key, of course.
Yeah, the tough part in All Dungeons Key Sanity, particularly Key Sanity, to be specific, but the tough part about this scenario is that you can't finish the dungeon unless you find a big key in there, and there's a slowly depleting number of checks available to you. You don't want the double dip, but in Key Sanity it doesn't hurt as much, so I'm not surprised to see Megawatt going in here right now.
Yeah, it does feel like the right play from where he's sitting. There's our good old-fashioned single arrow sitting on the island in Lake Hylia, so I don't expect our runners to go out of their way for that one. Unless they are just the memeiest of memers.
You know, we've seen Stranger Things in this series even, but that's why they're at the top of the game. 2-1, game 4. You know, this is an exciting place to be for anybody, whether you're a runner, commentator like us, or in the audience. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
All right, Yoshi fluting away one more time back to 8. We're going to get that Zora and Waterfall Cave check. And Megawatt will be picking up Zora money there in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, that's a strong alternative. A lot of people forget about that room on the right in the dark. Even if you don't have the lamp, it's not that hard to get to. You really just got to deal with the enemies in the prior room. Waterfall going to give us pod key.
Yep. There are a sickeningly gross number of pod keys in the pool, which means there are 6 of them. And if you know what you're doing, you can full clear pod with only 4 of them.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if you don't have like really low health or a mirror at your disposal, it is a time investment to do it. However, a small key in a very hard to get to location certainly would be worth skipping.
Key sanity is the reason I learned how to do the hammer jump. Not even gonna lie.
Hey, I mean, you know, if you really want to be fast at it, just got to go bufferless. No, I mean, pause buffers are a great way to learn it. But yeah, I mean, very important, as you mentioned, you know, in key sanity, to try to preserve that key. We have found a couple, or I guess maybe just one. So we're quite a ways away from that. Our runners are hoping to have at least 3 or 4 by the time they visit the dungeon.
Another full heart for Megawatt. So, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, what do we do? Like, what haven't we seen yet? And I think it's like Agina's Cave.
Yeah, Agina's Cave hits that list. We've seen all the Zora and
first chest in Aga Tower, I guess, because that's not locked behind the lamp.
First chest would be a very likely place for that lamp right now.
That is so dumb. Put the lamp in the first chest. That's beautiful.
You know, the funny thing about that is, like, you know, if you're the sort of person who plays this game, you know, I gotta stay in logic, you will be railroaded into that being your very last check no matter what. Addressing a question about Escape. We've seen the front of Escape. We've even seen Dark Cross, but lacking a glove, we have not seen the back. We do have a key, actually, but no means to actually light the room logically. So we could get there. I don't think either of them are trying to do that right now, but they could.
Hang on a second. Somebody is at my door.
Well, they're knocking for a few more keys, hopefully. Our runner's kind of dry on the key count. As far as we've seen maybe 1, 2 big keys and maybe 2 or 3 small keys. We've seen a lot of Skull Woods keys. That's not good. And I say that's not good because you really don't need that many small keys for Skull Woods. Alrighty, well, we are going to see an old man from Megawatt, Yoshi here, going to clear out Eastern Palace. Just to quickly talk a little bit about how these teams got here. Phandrano Drifters emerging at the top of the Dark World Conference, emerging victorious over Shaq Tool's Digging Game, Team Kappa, and the Tile Roomies, atop of what was already a dominant season, as well as Triple Dino Disaster rising above expectations in some people's eyes. In my eyes, personally, I like the team, but they had to defeat Titans such as the 2019 Titans Mitts of 2019 and Last Locationers, who was on a bye week at that. So this has been quite the climb for both teams and an exciting final series so far.
Yeah, I think the Last Locationers were the ones who actually won their division, right? So they had to take down their division champion just to get here. Yeah,
I had to get one thing wrong. Phandrano Drifters, they also had a bye week 1. They defeat Tile Roomies. I got that mixed up with Team Kappa. But yeah, winning your division, winning conference here in the finals, this is a really exciting matchup between these two teams. It has been months, in the works. So these two have got to feel the pressure on this race.
All right, so we are basically, watching both of these runners really kind of full clear out the light world. That is kind of how you do. Megawott was attempting to do the little bomb jump there, but to no avail. And yep, Yoshi going for Agina's Cave over at Flute 6. Now, to be honest, we're kind of expecting the lamp here, though we could end up with something like the hammer with something over in Hera.
Yeah, that would be a not great experience for runners, but oh geez, look out, Megawatt.
Or potentially a glove with some back of escape potential. A mirror, that's also a way to get to Hera.
You were like pretty much right there. It is certainly a more convenient way to get it to Hera. Doing the hammer would mean that we'd have to go all the way around and back up and then around. So Yoshi probably pretty happy to have that over the hammer, in this context at least.
I wonder if Yoshi's going to pick up the 300 rupees sitting here on top of Spectacle Rock.
Now, am I reading this wrong, or did Yoshi not check Zora yet?
I think Yoshi checked Zora. He might have scummed the money.
That's a possibility. So a lot of checks done here in the light world, as you kind of mentioned. Hera here is kind of the convergence point. Unfortunately for Megawatt, going to have to climb the mountain again, which will put him mostly on par with what Yoshi has done. However, in this situation, we'll be behind.
All right. So Tower of Hera has a glove in it, because of course it does. Now we could definitely see some potential Hera potting here, especially without the small key.
Yep, and for those of you a little less familiar with what we're talking about with this Hera pod, there is a fun little clip you can do by positioning yourself on a perfect Y pixel. You can do it with bomb or boots. You can have a couple of different methods actually, and you can grab the inside of that pot, which drops you down to the basement floor and warps you to the top. Pretty nifty, kind of essential knowledge at this point for playing this game competitively. It can get you up here without a big key though, which is really nice.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure they have the Hera big key. Or maybe Yoshi didn't get it, but I know Megawatt has it.
Yeah, that is an A-firm. I believe that may have been in the escape sequence.
Yeah, it's in the escape sequence. And the thing is, it was down past the first chest, I think. So in order for that to be in logic, you had to have the small key from Hyrule Castle. But it is in logic because we have that small key, so we know where it is.
Well, Yoshi getting in the NMG experience, the true NMG experience. You haven't had a run until you fall into Moldorm.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't really have a lot of better options, though. Without the boots and only having Fighter Sword, this is actually a surprisingly much more challenging fight.
Oh, absolutely.
Not only that, but Moldorm's opting to be a bit of a jerk.
I got my dad to try Rando the other day, and he hasn't ever played Link to the Past. But I was just kind of helping him. But we ended up having to do Fighter Sword Moldorm, and it was the worst. It was like 30, 45 minutes of just slamming into it.
You heard it here first, folks. If you want your friends, family, and loved ones to despise this game, introduce them to the game with Fighter Sword and Moldorm. I mean, it's something you got to learn.
Oof.
If you want Yoshi to hate this game.
that is gotta hurt. The oof is real.
All right, well, this represents some time save for Megawott, assuming he doesn't have the same fate.
Come on, Moldorm. Oh, wow. We're doing the count today, apparently.
You can see that Yoshi's not that happy, though. He's seen bombs being laid at the staircase. Yeah, I can definitely feel where he's coming from on that. A quick side note about Moldorm's actual pattern. He does have a pattern. It might seem random, and that is Yoshi finishing Moldorm.
I mean, it's partially random.
Yes, exactly. So he has 4 different cycles of animation. All of them have a random angle or distance, but he will face towards Link in the 3rd part of his cycle. So you can predict that and try and bait it out. But even then, without the tools of boots and better swords and better weapons overall, challenging no matter what you know about him.
All right, so there's a blue pendant there in Hera. So, you know, if I were these runners and I were prioritizing dungeons and I knew where the other pendants were, like, you know, Ice Palace and wherever the red pendant is, I might consider trying to prioritize that to get another sword.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that you have to do everything certainly adds up once you have the opportunity and the knowledge. And as you mentioned, we do know 2 of 3.
Right, just 50 rupees in the big chest of Hera, so that's not going to cause Yoshi any trouble. That is the lamp in the back of Escape.
Yeah, we have been theory crafting where this lamp could be for a while now, but Yoshi's going to make that answer for us and check the Dark Cross from the opposite direction that we saw Megawott do it. I believe this means that Yoshi has a bit of a dilemma, may end up deciding to look in the tower for that 2nd key. But I think the safe choice, you know, in any runner's situation like that, I can't imagine he doesn't check the rest of Escape first.
Well, I believe he has the key. Yeah, one was in the race game, one was in Paradox game.
Oh, right, it was a big key in the bottom of Escape.
Yeah, the big key of Hera was there, and that's going to turn out to be largely irrelevant.
Yeah, unless there's something in that chest. Oh, you mentioned it was 50 rupees. Okay, I'm caught up, folks. But that is Megawott finishing up Moldorm in 1 try, as opposed to 5. So a lot of time saved there for Megawatt. Megawatt's about to head into the back of Escape, I imagine.
Yeah, I imagine so. It looks like Yoshi is heading left. Is he going to go to the... Yeah, he's going to the basic part of his, or the front part of Escape. I imagine to potentially get some extra items and such, or hoping to avoid the Agap 1 play.
Yeah, I mean, like, even though we know that we have to do Aghanim 1 at some point during the race, Bob, you're bringing up a great point, is that you would much rather do it right before Ganon. Get that full health refill, full magic, right at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, at this point, though, really the only way we could end up avoiding it is if the sick kid has something, because we just found that bottle.
And for what it's worth, there's a couple of items that could bail us out of that. A hammer to get into the Dark World, another glove would be one possibility. I think they're gonna check it before they commit to Aghanim, but I see Megawatt heading there now.
Yep. What does sick kid have? It is big 20. Looks like we are doing the climb.
All right, so both runners nearly half an hour into the race will be in Hyrule Castle. It has come to this.
we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a convergence. Oh, dear Lord, look how close this is.
Yeah, I forgot for a moment that we had a mirror at our disposal, so nearly frame adjacent at this point. All right, so this is actually an important difference maker in terms of a seed, is how you can handle things like the castle tower climb, the gauntlet, these combat-heavy sections that require, a lot of base game knowledge. This is a more challenging climb than it normally would be in the vanilla game, as we do not have the Master Sword, but we should be just fine.
All right, into the second chest room. It's just bombs, so we'll be moving right along.
Yep, something you'll take notice of here is that Yoshi saves some time over Megawatt in this room by avoiding alerting the guards. Sometimes impossible to prevent, but in that particular maze, it goes a long way to avoid clinking when you don't want to.
All right, so in the next room for Yoshi, there is one guard that you absolutely have to kill. It's got a key. Very nicely done. Megawatt maybe a little faster with 2 arrows instead of 3 slashes, but we'll see.
I gotta say, their juking skills between the two of them, quite impressive.
Yeah, because, you don't have a lot of health here, so if you get hit, you're not going to be happy. Oh, and Megawatt takes the lead with the bow strats.
And to dovetail off that remark about health, with Aghanim, you can do a fair amount to avoid damage, but those blue ball attacks are sometimes you got to choose between being able to hit the reflectable one and risk damage, or just play it safe. And it is much slower to play it safe against that boss.
So it is possible, if you are standing directly to the left and right, and you've got a spin charged, you can make sure that the blue ball won't hurt you, and you'll reflect it back. But that is slightly less than optimal if you're going for the best possible fight, where you kind of want to knock Aghanim into the middle as best you can.
Yeah, you're hitting it right on the money. Right towards the center of the arena is, on average, the best you can do. Obviously, you can't predict where he's going to teleport. Thankfully, our runners do have the same RNG on their first attempts of any boss that has the set RNG flag. So, Aghanim, Ganon, various others. There are some randomness elements in bosses like Lamolus, where they'll spawn initially in the same spot when you enter the super tile. But the time it takes for you to get to the Lamolus 2, for example, could change where they spawn. Alrighty, well, quite a lot of people making predictions in the Twitch side of things for how many blue ball attacks we'll get. If you were hoping for 2 or less, it's looking a little bleak.
That it is.
I may have been looking for 2 or less. Part of the reason that we make that sort of prediction when it comes to 2 or less or 3 or more actually comes down to how many cycles you'll have. This Aghanim fight, of course, taking 5 total cycles to get back to his guaranteed first shot. The 5th one always going to be lightning, so if you have 2 or less total blue ball attacks, you have 1 less lightning cycle, which is nice.
All right. The boomerang sitting there on the pyramid, which Megawatt is not going out of the way for. And neither is Yoshi. Neither runner deciding that's worth their time. And I will probably agree with that, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. And Megawatt opting to swim down the river. Not sure if he forgot he had a glove, but...
Well, I think if you executed that properly, it might be faster, just because you can swim a little faster than you can walk. But you have to be perfect.
Bob, you're not suggesting that we water pump, are you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, way above my head at least. I wish I could do that effectively. Some people do, though. Alrighty, we are making our way over to the catfish. He has something for us.
Yeah, both runners going with the catfish play, which is interesting, but I imagine not surprising, just on account of, you got here, your really best play is to take the hook shot across the river, and this is really the only good time to do catfish if you're going to do that.
Yeah, and the fact that we don't really have much to work with for Palace of Darkness, we could go get a few things in the dungeon, but this is a much safer play, regardless of your choice when it comes to Palace of Darkness. Maybe you find another pod key here,
Personally, I don't like going to pod unless I have at least 3 keys, if I can help it.
Yeah, that'll get you as many as 12 items, not counting the boss, depending on how you want to use them. So, that's definitely a much more comfy place to be out of 14. All right, well, we're not quite well equipped to heavy lift, so long way we go. No bonk rocks available to us to cut around the side. We will mirror into this graveyard ledge. This will be one item location for us, and some nifty bomb throwing here.
Yet another key. This time, there's a pod key. All right. So up to 2 now.
Could you imagine someone being enough of a mad lad to take that key and immediately head back to pod?
Oh, I don't know. Not if it's your second key. Your third key, maybe. If it's your 6th key, absolutely. But not for your second key, I don't think.
Yeah, so 2 keys not quite enough to tempt either of these two, and as you mentioned, and for the reasons you mentioned, I agree. This is a finals game after all. Meme routing, though, in a different world.
All right, 20 rupees on the bumper ledge. And again, just, little bits of execution, little bits of movement, separating the 2 runners here. Screen for screen, just going through the same areas. At the very least, this is very interesting to watch the execution between them. So we're not going to get quite as much information about the items, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we are actually missing quite a lot of that information, as these 2 are pretty much, head-to-head right now in the same places. Well, we do have a prediction going on in chat, folks. Do you think we're going to find the hammer or the mitts first? Bob, what do you think? This is a pretty locked-up seed so far, at least with the keys.
Just based on that, I'm going to say hammer. Just because there was the swamp small key, and now we need to see hammer so we can actually do swamp.
Ooh, that was a really nice hookshot clip here to get to the pinball room chest. Mirroring out. Oh, no, Megawatt.
Oh, Megawatt didn't get that chest. It's not going to, actually hurt Megawatt.
But he's definitely going to go get it.
Yeah, you wouldn't just not get it.
Yeah, in terms of where he came into the dungeon, that is the most painful one to not get to.
Small key to Meyer in the big key chest, which again, small keys to Meyer are, you'd like to have 1 for routing purposes, but the rest of them are largely irrelevant, except for logic-wise.
In spite of all this, though, we are still neck and neck.
If only because Megawatt skipped the big key chest. So when they come back for Skull Woods, if they're not finished looking for items, we may end up seeing Megawatt, do that.
Yeah, so a net time gain for Yoshi overall. We get a small key to Hera, which we do not want to see at any point.
Gross.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody's trying to go back there until it's the last thing to do. Opening up the front door to Thieves Town onto the chest game. Just 2 locations to check 1.5, depending on your count, or maybe just the one. Cane of Burna here, plus a rupee for our troubles.
Yep, blue cane, very, I wouldn't say very useful, but useful. Certainly not a terrible thing to have, specifically for this dungeon. If you had to, if we were able to actually get through it, in case something goes horribly wrong on your script, you can pull out the Cane of Burna and just wreck Blind's face.
Yeah, it's a nice way to default when you're in danger. But that Turtle Rock Big Key, depending on our Fire Rod and our mid situation, that might not be that far away from us going there. Maybe we will end up back at Hera before long.
Yeah. We also need a medallion too. But I was gonna say, did somebody tell Thieves Town that it's supposed to be Turtle Rock? I don't know. So we got that small key to Turtle Rock and the big key to Turtle Rock, right one after the other, which is fun. GT Big Key sitting there in the vanilla Big Key chest of Thieves Town. So, again, nice to find.
Folks, if you guessed 62, then you probably didn't win any actual channel points, but
It's like if you'd actually been counting this whole time, I would applaud you.
This is a shot in the dark. We're going Babe Ruth on that one.
I mean, with as much as they had to get in the light world, though, I would expect it to be a little higher, actually.
Yeah, that's a solid point. We have been into a few dungeons so far, so for those of you tuning in a little bit later, we've done basically a full light world clear for everything that we have so far equipment-wise. Keys have kind of opened up a few more things if we wish, but our 2 castle tower keys did give us the dark world access that we have used to get here.
All right, so one minor difference here, Yoshi went ahead and did the mirror to check Sick Kid, which Megawott did before going up the tower. So that's the separation you see right now. So 20 rupees at the dig game, and for Yoshi, we're seeing lots and lots of 20 rupees.
Yeah, quite the fortuitous dig. You got to think that Yoshi would...
We got a glove. Mitts in Cave 45, Grove Ledge, etc., etc. Insert non-controversial name here.
Well, I gotta say, it's a Fear Agent who threw 50,000 channel points into the other guess. Unfortunately, we have secured victory today. That is Mitts for both of our 2 runners in the Cave South of Grove, Cave 45 on an old map. That will lead to Megawatt trying to get the next sword upgrade.
Well, there we go. Yeah, so Megawatt definitely going for the sword here, and Yoshi also. I mean, when you have a chance to get a Master Sword, you take it.
Yeah, and given that it's going to be quite a while before we have any remaining pendants and the 5-6 crystals at our disposal, we do not know where they are, of course, because of the maps. We haven't been over... Well, I guess we could check with the actual shopkeep when we get there.
Yep. So, I don't know if our runners are going to go out of their way for that, especially because they just know they're going to have to beat the dungeons no matter what. But if you really wanted to know what you had to do in order to get another sword, that could be, some useful information.
And this really would be about the time you would go check. So, I mean, they're going to be heading, obviously, with that purple chest all the way down to the south. Unfortunately, do not have a book to finish the entire chain. But it's not that slow to come back there later if we need to.
So now we get the powder. Thanks.
Thanks, game. I hate it.
Now that we've already been over to the East Dark World area there, because you could absolutely check the magic bat at this moment. It would be a pain because you would lose your portal. But again, I don't know how many times I've seen the hammer there, but it's not a small number.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where you can access that without it. All right, purple chest itself, a bit of a unfortunate lack of actual value, just 5 rupees in value. As we see Yoshi taking the time to do the hype cave first. Alrighty, we have a heart container up front, bombs, a hammer. Well, some healthy smacks going on in that cave. With that hammer, we have the magic weapon that we need. Interestingly enough, that it's a magic weapon but doesn't use the meter. Not sure if the localization team had that figured out, but that will carry us westwards.
I mean, if you look at what it says when you get it in the original game, it says it's the MC hammer, which is hilarious.
Absolutely. Sign of the times, too.
It's like, I don't know if Japanese people were aware of MC Hammer at the time, but yes.
Hey, I mean, they figured this magic, hammer hits you so hard, so they had to do it that way.
Oh my lord. Anyway, so Eastern Palace and Swamp are our 5 and 6 crystals, and with that information, we can see Megawott being like, you know what? We're gonna do us some Swamp. And Yoshi already in the mood for Swamp. So guess what time it is?
Diving down. We're definitely going to make our way into Swamp Palace. A lot of checks. We have all the keys that we could ever hope for in terms of completely clearing everything in here. At this point, really, to get that 3rd sword at Pyramid Fairy, we really just need that Eastern Palace big key.
Very true. And remember, we did pick up the Swamp Big Key in that Spectacle Rock, so we will be able to straight up full clear this dungeon. At least you don't have to double dip Swamp. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, and it's hard to fathom somebody not going left first in this scenario. Take maximum, benefit from the diver down tech.
Yeah, with all this and with all the items in here, you expect if you're going to do a full clear, you go left first. It's just faster.
All right, well, Bootsless Swamp may be a little resident sleeper for most of this chat, but we do have the hook shot at least, so we're not going in here unprepared. We have every item that we could hope for. The only thing that would make this better would be a tempered sword. And unfortunately, we know that we're not going to get one here. Beyond that, though, what else are we looking for here, Bob? A lot of keys, a couple medallions, potentially?
Yeah, so keys, medallion, fire rod, potentially boots, which you would want anyway. But yeah, that's about the long and short of it.
Yeah, all in all, besides a couple of items, we are looking pretty close to what we would need to finish the game on that front. So, key logic notwithstanding, our runners have a good idea of what they're looking at ahead of them.
Mm-hmm. All right, diving down for Megawatt, very quickly put together, and just grabbing that key, just walking on a floor that doesn't theoretically exist, except it does.
Oh, it's a matter of layer perspective at that point. You would think with how fast Megawatt got to the bottom, though, that he had some kind of golden scale from another entry of the franchise.
Yeah, basically. Unfortunately, with a golden scale, would have had him have to go back to the surface in 8 seconds.
Yeah, and I wager that entire thing was less than 8 seconds total for that guy. It was impressive.
Very possible. Book. A book. That's very interesting. Gives us access to 2 more checks. I would say it gives us access to desert, but we actually already had desert access with the glove and the mirror and the mitts, or the mitts and the mirror and the flute. Words. How do you words?
That's a good question. Perhaps a book would assist with that. However, even though, as you mentioned, that opens up the front door of the dungeon, there's no reason in the world you would prefer that over the left side entrance when you have a mirror. So we will not see it used for the Hylian text outside of that dungeon. But as you mentioned, 2 important checks, and we're definitely going to have to go back up the mountain. I can't imagine anybody doesn't do Bombo's tablet immediately after this.
Oh yeah, it's super convenient. It's literally right here. You just do it.
Gosh, even if I didn't need items or keys, I'd feel tempted. And there's Boots.
Yo! Now, how salty do you feel for not opening that chest before going left side? That's what I want to know.
Both of them did it too. I mean, honestly, where do we find that Swamp Big Key again?
Spectacle Rock.
Yes, I mean, it's possible somebody wouldn't bother to get that.
Yo! All right, Blue Mail and the Eastern Big Key. That's gonna be worth Tempered Sword if you want it.
Yeah, and of course, we would not be able to do the convenient way of getting there, where you do it right after this dungeon, which would be nice. Kind of like how you would do it in an NMG route if you get the actual gold sword. But that does at least give us the knowledge before we've left the area. So our runners know exactly what the route is to that third sword now.
And at least we have done Aga 1, so you can use the portal to speed up the whole delivery of the bomb.
Well, talking about speeding up the whole delivery of the boss, we're going to see sword spins on double hook shots from both of our runners here. Yoshi off to a great start, Megawatt not too far behind him.
That is, in fact, the optimal way to take care of these puffballs with Master Sword.
What, you're saying you're not all about the double poke dash?
No, not really.
For reference or for context, folks, it's extremely difficult boss kill. Like, no matter which way you're doing this boss, all of them are difficult unless you want to take a lot longer.
What I'm definitely not about is menu boss where you switch to the hammer. Don't do that. Don't even do that when you have fighter's sword.
Yeah, it's definitely a feels bad thing. And the advent of quick swap actually does give you some options there. So Ice Rod quick kills on phase 2 for both of these runners.
But quick swapping from the hookshot to the hammer is almost always the worst. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're pretty likely to have several other items in the way. Alrighty, time to figure out what's on the Bombo's tablet. A little bit of health to work with. Simultaneous buzzards being burned as we see birds carrying us back up the mountain. Okay, I'm in 100% wrong.
Yeah, 2 different spots, neither of which were the mountain. Megawatt going for Palace of Darkness, while Yoshi apparently going for the Misery Mire area. The Mire Medallion, of course, vanilla today with the Ether. And we'll see what's in the Mire Shed here as Megawatt makes his way toward Pod.
See, they will rue the day that they didn't do Ether Tablet first for the vanilla Ether that I'm sure is up there for the vanilla requirement.
That would be ridiculous, and I love it.
Remains to be seen, but we will have a Palace of Darkness entry for Megawatt here with just the 2 small keys and no big key, as Yoshi shows us checkerboard.
Just a compass, no interest in figuring out even what that compass is for. I don't blame him. And next we'll see Desert from Yoshi, which I think we found the... No, we didn't. I remember finding something for Desert, but I guess it was just a map or a compass.
I guess you could say we found the boots for the torch.
We did find that.
So, Megawatt dodging my prediction yet again, heading into Eastern, which is kind of what we expected, though, because of the 5-6.
Fair enough. He also opened Pod, but did not go inside yet.
So a little bit of convenience for later, as Megawatt's heading pretty quickly to the back here. We'll have the big chest, and we'll have the actual boss itself, as Yoshi has cleared out everything he can do in Desert, saves and quits.
Not gonna lie, didn't even see what was on the torch, but I think we would have noticed if it was something important. All right, Yoshi going for the Kingstoon Bonk Rocks play.
Yeah, these boots relatively recent in terms of our progression. Whether or not they're actually progressive is, remains to be seen. We did not need them for the Desert Torch, and there are only a handful of other locations that we could actually require. But Yoshi gonna knock that out completely right away. We already saw the Lumberjack earlier, I believe.
Only spot that Yoshi's gonna... Only boot spot that Yoshi will be unable to check is, of course, the torch in Ganon's tower.
Which I believe we can confirm is not going to be necessary, unless somehow by some weird scenario we have everything we need. But that is Silver's.
A second bow on the Eastern Palace boss. I'm on board. And so basically Megawatt at this moment could have access to both the Tempered Sword and the Silver Arrows. And I wouldn't be opposed to such a thing. Oh, hello. The mushroom is on the Aga ledge.
Interesting. Well, that also brings up the point, because I was thinking of fake powder from that, but we actually have the powder, so no fake powder required. Neither of our runners have seen the magic bat, I believe.
Bombo's medallion in the first chest of pod for Megawatt.
Logically speaking, that gives us Ice Palace, although I can't imagine Ice Palace is a place you want to be. I mean, you have the keys you need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to get it done eventually. A small key to Turtle Rock at the mushroom turn-in. So that is 3 Turtle Rock keys.
Yeah, enough to go mode if required, but you want the 4th one just to be sure.
Well, let me tell you what that is. That's enough for the fire rod to be on Laser Bridge is what it is.
Oh, no. No. Perhaps Yoshi's considering the same thing, as we have a mountain trip. Meanwhile, Megawatt checking the dark rooms of Palace of Darkness. Not finding a lot. Our first shield of the match.
Oh, we did get the Ice Palace big key. I didn't remember that. Okay, with that, I am less opposed to Ice Palace.
Yeah, it's certainly doable. You're not likely to leave anything behind. We're getting a buffer attempt at the Hammer Yump for Megawatt of Phendrana Drifters, as Yoshi of Triple Dino Disaster going to at least open up. No, he doesn't have the Bombos yet, but Turtle Rock being Bombos, he now knows that.
Alright, no pod big key yet, but we do have 2 items in the maze here that we can check. Now, logically, these are going to be behind all 6 pod keys. So if there's something important in here, you'll know that a bunch of pod keys will come before that.
All of Hyrule and the Dark World will have conspired against you at that point.
Meanwhile, Megawatt will now be going for the basement room here. And then I imagine probably go to the right side here. Got the map of Thieves Town there. We have a small key to pod in Hookshot Cave.
Yeah, that was accompanied by a Misery Mire small key in one of the other chests. Not a lot found here, but those 2 keys certainly welcome. Misery Mire made faster and pod made more completable. And it appears that Yoshi will take that opportunity to head all the way over to the Ether Tablet, perhaps spiting my previous remarks or smiting his opponent with it.
We will see. I'm thinking there might be a Spike Cave check in our future too.
Oh, small key.
Okay, so additional pod keys all over the place for Yoshi, and he's going for the basement of Hera, folks.
Yeah, here in an hour in a potential elimination match, Yoshi going for broke with this. Gonna opt to do a Hera pod?
Oh yeah, he's also going for the big chest, which he didn't do.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, and speaking of Ice Palace, Megawatt dipping right into ice.
Bombosing his way through this bombastic dungeon. Lots of checks here, I believe 8 total, and a lot of keys we could find in here.
Yeah. Now, I believe you can quote me on this. I have said the rule is if you have Bombos and you're looking for the Fire Rod, it's an Ice Palace.
You know, even if I couldn't quote you, I'd believe that you'd said it.
But in this case, I would say for the same reason it could be in Turtle Rock, because Turtle Rock is also locked behind Bombos.
Listen, Bob, you've cast that die. It must be in Turtle Rock. You've made the claim. You've called it. Like since I'm bringing up Babe Ruth earlier, if he pointed to the other side of the field on the same at bat, you wouldn't believe him anymore.
Fair enough.
Anyway, asides aside, Megawatt here going to do the icebreaker, handling it pretty well with another pod key, as Yoshi gives us our first look at the basement.
All right, so the seed is in fact just handing out keys like they're on sale now. Compass of Thieves Town in the basement of Hera, so again, no useful items in Hera. That is a Quake Medallion in ice, which is not useful for this particular seed, given our knowledge.
Yeah, it would take quite an exotic scenario to want to use that Quake Medallion. You know, let's just say we didn't have boots and we wanted to get a magic refill by Kakariko. That's a weird thing. You could do it with it, but for the most part, we're not going to find use.
The only place that I would have wanted to use the Quake Medallion was actually a few rooms ago in ice, in the Pengator room.
Yeah, that's a fun way to actually make use of that medallion. So another Mr. Meyer key going on here in Spike Cave. Probably not necessary on any frame of reference, but Yoshi's not going to turn it down either.
Now, here's what I find interesting. So Megawatt decided, he's got the pod, or he's got the Eastern Crystal, he's got the Swamp Crystal. Maybe was it Megawatt that actually looked at the 5/6s?
Honestly, I'd missed them when that happened, but I think so.
Yeah, because I'm like, you could be in Ice Palace with the Tempered Sword if you wanted.
Yeah, it's really gutsy knowing that Cold Stare is a very difficult Master Sword fight. I mean, to say that these two can handle it is an understatement, but in the finals, I guess that's a time save you believe is worth.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that says you have to have a Tempered Sword, for sure, but I would want one. That's all I'm saying.
Perhaps this represents what Megawatt knows he needs to do in order to beat a contender such as Yoshi. These two, only one loss between the two of them for the entire season.
Luckily for Megawatt, there are, in fact, two magic pots under those pots here that will allow you to break Cold Stare's shell.
But yeah, we're looking at a strictly sword fight here at this point, unless he wishes to pull out the hammer and be a mad lad.
Looks like quite possibly he does.
And in terms of damage class, the hammer frequently resembles the tempered sword. So perhaps that was part of his calculations, but this is going to be a scary fight.
I mean, the tempered sword does deal the same amount of damage as the hammer, and the hammer is just as effective if you hit with it, but the hammer is much harder to hit with.
Well, I'm not too worried about the Stay Puffed monster here in the basement of Ice Palace. Megawatt finishing it out, busting his way through for a green pendant that we found about earlier, which does give us the Sahasrahla item. Definitely smooth to avoid getting hit there, Megawatt. Congratulations on that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, a lot of choices available to Megawatt here. Has enough keys to start in pod. We'll head over to the Meyer area looking to get some information, I believe, unless he's already seen. No, he hasn't. He would be here with Ether if he knew.
Yeah. It's really sad. He's probably coming over here thinking, I got 2 medallions. Surely I can finish this. Nope.
Nope.
I mean, he doesn't have the big key of Meyer either, so that would be useful as well.
But yeah, I mean, this is something that, like, people who don't play Key Sanity might be wondering, why in the world do you take the time to do this over denser checks or other things like getting a sword right away? That knowledge alone, just knowing whether or not you can be down to 1 or 2 or 5 items in total, anything you can do to limit that information gap over your opponent is going to be something that puts you ahead in a Key Sanity race.
All right, so Yoshi will now be picking up that Bombos medallion. Now, Yoshi is entering pod with 4 small keys. I imagine we'll go ahead and open this front door, even though it's potentially, if you're going to full clear the dungeon, you have to leave that door shut with 4 keys.
Yeah, assuming that we didn't miss one of them earlier, I believe we've seen 5 of the 6 out in the overall world, so
yep.
We definitely have what we need to finish it.
Well, we are kind of missing the big key, but that's it.
That is right. Kind of hard to see sometimes. Thank you for correcting me on that.
But yeah, the big key is, it's a formality.
Formality for at least 12 of the places in this dungeon, which is saying a lot. 14 locations total. For the amount of keys that we need for it, you kind of take it for granted when you're not playing Key Sanity how many checks there are in here.
So the main difference between Yoshi and Megawatt here is that Yoshi will be able to, if he so desires, Yoshi will be able to check the big key chest and the harmless Hellway chest, which are chests that are basically locked behind small keys. And Megawatt really didn't have access to those if he wanted to do the other larger checks.
We're also pretty well kitted out. A lot of items at our disposal. Yoshi, with more health to work with, has a little bit less of a scary hammer-yum situation, depending on your perspective.
All right, so Megawatt will be approaching Turtle Rock, and Megawatt has the Bombos medallion, so we could... I don't imagine any scenario in which it doesn't get opened right up, but whether he goes directly inside or not, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, we've seen 3 of the 4 total keys. It's entirely possible that the 4th key could be in there and you could get all the way to Trinex.
Now, that being said, it does look like Megawatt only has 2 of them.
Yeah, so he's going to opt to avoid the entrance until having at least checked everything nearby. We'll see if he decides to dip in there afterwards. Handful of buffers going on here for Yoshi, but in position, lined up, ready to unfortunately drop. May have been a pixel too high.
Oof.
So the story of chat here is everybody's confusion regarding nobody going to Pyramid Fairy for that 3rd known sword. But this is the finals. They've made it to this point and we haven't, so I'm going to give them some credibility here.
Well, okay, Yoshi, if Yoshi is looking at his track, like his menu there, he should notice that both of those crystals are red, but Yoshi did not ask the bomb vendor about them. And to be honest, if I'm playing the game, that wouldn't register. Like, I wouldn't even look at the crystals on my menu when I'm doing that, right?
Yeah, these guys are trying to clip halfway through a railing, and perhaps that's not where their focus is at. But you raise a good point, though. It's one of the few situations in a quick swap format where you're really going to have an opportunity to see your crystals.
All right, so Yoshi is going to mirror and flute away. We'll see where he goes from here. And Megawatt is taking the plunge into Turtle Rock. Yoshi is going south here. So this might be that Pyramid Fairy check.
Yeah, 100% it is. There's nothing over here with the book or anything like that, but that's a shovel in Turtle Rock. That's interesting. So we made these predictions like probably 20 minutes ago in chat about whether or not there was going to be a junk item alongside that third sword. So we're going to find that out pretty soon.
I don't believe either runner has checked Magic Bat at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to confirm that as well. It's a bit of an awkward check. It doesn't take that long to do with all the items we have, but you don't really want to be over there if you've got more dense things to do. Wow, and Megawott with the full commit, sending every key all the way through. I think he wants to see what's as far as he can go.
Yeah, in this scenario, you go ahead and steal the key from the pokey so that you can go to the back, I imagine. There's our Tempered Sword, and just a piece of heart to go with it. So, junk it is.
However, a less junky sword. This Tempered Sword is going to be a really great boon for both of our runners. Yoshi, an hour and 10 minutes, the first one to grab it. But looking at the remaining dungeons, not going to be bad to have it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Megawatt will now be heading outside. Probably check some Mimic Cave. Yoshi looks to be going directly for Ice Palace, like Megawatt did a minute ago. But Yoshi will have access to the Tempered Sword, so we'll have a potentially quicker Cold Stare fight on our hands.
And not only that, but like if Megawatt decides to go all the way to Trinex here, if he finds a Fire Rod, for example, that's not exactly a comfy fight. That is Master Sword, no potions as far as I know.
You would also need to find another small key, apparently.
Yeah, and that is still missing out there in the world. We could find it here in Mimic Cave or even on the Laser Bridge. There is a big key here in Mimic Cave for Thieves Town.
Ooh. Yeah, so that's a pretty big deal.
A pretty big deal, yeah. We're going there, Bob?
I mean, I guess.
But as you mentioned, though, items in the back of another big key.
Keys? Jeez.
All right, so this is clearly the key to the seed's logic in a big way.
Oh, so now we're going there, huh?
Look, I'm doubling down.
Okay.
You could say this was locking quite a bit. The mirror shield, for example, which is actually a really handy place to get it.
Yeah, not bad. I can't complain about that particular mirror shield. I mean, unless you're just like a completely averse to all forms of lag.
We have actually done most of the things in the game where that lag would matter. Boss explosions and Aghanim fights, kind of the biggest examples of those. Alrighty, well, Megawatt's got the laser bridge to check here, opting not to take advantage of his shield. Oh no.
Oof. The biggest of oofs. Quite the oof.
Well, Megawatt, not to be deterred, going to head all the way back to the laser bridge. It's really not that awful, but doing the maze again just doesn't feel good. You got to reflect on all of your mistakes. Contemplate life for a bit.
And in this particular case, he's also going to have to go to the right-hand side and grab a magic refill because he's out of magic.
And while there are potentially options, they make every other room leading to Trinex much slower. So if you were to find, say, that fourth small key on the bridge, which I don't think you can you?
Yeah, you can find the fourth key on the bridge.
With this setup without the fire rod? Yeah, you can. And desert small key.
I knew it wasn't Turtle Rock.
Oh my goodness.
What? Game? Game, are you okay? Did somebody hurt you?
Well, you may have heard of the blacksmiths of Hyrule, but have you heard of the locksmiths of Turtle Rock?
Might as well call it Turtle Lock for all I care.
You know, we're heading there. And departing, actually. Megawott wants nothing more to do with this, deciding that he needs to get to the desert ASAP, Rocky. ASAP Locky?
Yep.
I'll see myself out. As Megawatt sees himself into Turtle Rock with that mirror, and Yoshi, equipped with much better fighting utensils, going to take advantage of that tempered sword for a much smoother cold stare overall, even with some damage. Okay, I may have spoken too soon.
Luckily, after taking that potion, Yoshi, you get the sword beams at that point. Luckily, those aren't going to hurt you on cold stare, except for maybe a little bit of lag, because the sword beams actually will not damage cold stare at all. So you're not going to run into trouble that way.
Bosses in tow. We've got Megawatt going to make his way through the Lamolus fight. Has Ice Rod and Silvers at his disposal. I have to imagine it's going to be a Silvers fight.
All right. Now, Yoshi is going for the Sazrala check here with the green pendant, so we can see what that has in store.
Yeah, we have had it for a moment. Getting a Thieves Town small key and a boomerang.
All right, red boomerang, which can actually kind of mess you up if you're expecting the bow to be just to the left of your hook shot.
He thought he could avoid that bow or that boomerang earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So the pyramid boomerang strikes back, and comes back after you throw it.
That it does.
Alrighty, well, divergence of choices here. Yoshi going to head over to Turtle Rock, it looks like, with the equipment at his disposal. Megawatt heading towards Thieves Town, having acquired both the small and big key.
Yep. Thieves Town seeming like a pretty good call. Again, 4 chests in the back, one of which could contain that ether medallion that we're looking for Misery Mire.
Yeah, that does remain to be one of the few unanswered questions in this seed so far. Where are we going to find that ether? And Fire Rod still evading us.
Yeah. Now, you want to talk about the dumbest location for the Fire Rod? How about the vanilla big key chest of Turtle Rock?
Yeah, that would be quite the painful place to find it today. Not only would that be just unfortunate and unfriendly, if you still needed keys at that point, you would probably be tempted to mirror back to the entrance just to get the right side here in the foyer. So, yeah, that would be very unfriendly.
Well, there is that shovel as well. Hey, there's that ether medallion we were talking about in the top of, or in the attic there of Thieves Town.
Alrighty, well, with that information, Megawatt could potentially infer some things about the rest of the seed. Yoshi, with that shovel, can inter some things. We'll see which ends up being the more valuable of the two.
Generally, I think the policy with the shovel is you want to do the opposite of inter some things.
I'm just saying he could.
Yeah.
Well, inferences and entrances aside, we are going to see the bottom or the basement of Thieves Town here, as Yoshi has one more key at his disposal to decide what to do. If it were a Fire Rod and the vanilla big key chest, this would be the opportunity to discover it. Oh gosh, do you check this chest if you can't kill the boss yet?
I don't think so. Know is the thing. I don't think you do. Yeah, I think you hold off and then maybe like you get the things at the end of the laser bridge, and then you take a death and then check the middle chest, and if it's nothing, you reset.
Yeah, so Yoshi having to think about his choices carefully here in order to not burn an opportunity to potentially burn Megawatt on that fire rod. We haven't seen it yet. There's no reason to think that we have to have it here, but we are running lower on locations. Keys are really the separating difference between these two right now.
All right, blind down for Megawatt. So we found the major item of significance here in Thieves Town, that being the Ether Medallion.
Yeah, and that'll open up all of Misery Mire for us. We have a resplendent amount of keys at our disposal. Of course, the smalls have mostly gone to Yoshi. The big has gone to Megawatt. So we'll see if he ends up going there sooner rather than later.
All right, Megawatt is going for this hammer peg situation, and potentially we could see a magic bat check as well while we're over here.
Yeah, never a better opportunity. Megawatt pulling out the mirror, heading to the magic bat as we see Yoshi with the extra key at his disposal, getting that mirror shield and deciding on what to do from here. I really hope we see a mirror back to the Lava Bridge chest, even if it isn't anything important.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, I would actually take the death so you could save, and then scum it if necessary.
Ooh, that's a good call. Yeah, see, that's a smart decision I would not personally make. Well, besides thinking through these things to the best of our advantage, Yoshi, of course, does have to have the wherewithal to not get overwhelmed by the desert key situation going on here.
All right, so really no surprise here as Megawatt goes for the Mire play.
It's starting to feel like this is going to be it. We are running very low on fire rod locations. Unfortunately for the bird, not going to get a drink today.
Nope. I don't see any scenario in which Megawatt walks down, picks that up, and tosses it into the ground. That would be a little bit ridiculous.
Somewhere out there.
Huge memer.
Somewhere out there, Walrus Prime is upset.
Okay, so Yoshi decides not to go for that chest in Turtle Rock, and instead is just piecing right the heck out and heading to Desert. That is certainly fine.
Yeah, and you can't fault him either. I mean, the possibility of finding the fire rod elsewhere and then having the key you need to finish the dungeon must have been too difficult to resist the urge of that, and I don't blame him. Alrighty, Megawatt key depleted here in Misery Mire as his opponent in the area, in the neighborhood, Yoshi in Desert, could very easily go through all these doors without grabbing any extra keys.
So apparently Megawatt didn't check the rest of Desert. So that might be something that happens after Mire.
Yeah, we saw his teammate Jet in chat talking about that, potentially casting some disappointment on that front. And anytime you're watching your teammate play the game, no matter how good or bad they are, it's just stressful. You have the knowledge they don't. you got to pin your hopes on your teammate.
And Yoshi picking up fire rod in the big chest of Misery Mire right there for Megawatt. That's going to be, as before, a big deal. It's not go mode.
However, we do hit item mode at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the clock, interestingly enough.
Fair enough. Yeah, what we are missing specifically is the Palace of Darkness big key, and I think that's it.
Yeah, we are very close otherwise, so unless... we're going to find...
Megawott will also need a Turtle Rock small key.
Yes, that's true. So Turtle Rock Smalls, we know that there's one more out there that Yoshi did encounter. Megawatt's likely to come across it, but we have not seen the fourth one. And both of these runners are going to want it, even if they don't need... Yoshi might be able to find his item go mode before that if he heads to Mire, which is likely.
There's always the dumb possibility that it's actually in that lava chest.
Which is hilarious.
As it is one of the few locations that is specifically coded to allow key for key there.
Well, Yoshi heading over towards Thieves Town, it looks like. We have the requisite keys to clear that out. Megawatt, in the meanwhile, without having a Tempered Sword, will be going on to take on Vitreous, presumably with his silver arrows.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine any scenario in which silvers are not the play here.
Really smart usage to get as close as possible to refresh the bow animation as fast as possible. Unfortunately, discarding an extra arrow, but fast zero-cycle fight, Megawatt moving very efficiently and quickly through it.
Okay, so that is the other pendant Mire is, which means that should Megawatt so desire, he can pick up the Tempered Sword off the pedestal once he heads up to Skull Woods, which I kind of expect to be his next play.
Yeah, as it were, that's actually going to be faster for him than the Pyramid Fairy, presuming he never has to check it. And being that he's really just a couple of keys away, yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised. I gotta say, based on what we were talking about earlier, I did not expect this to be the third sword.
Yeah, I mean, once I started thinking about it, it became a little more likely. But yeah, I expect Megawatt actually here to go to the back of Skull Woods, and before even going inside, mirroring and grabbing the sword. Maybe not, but I personally would rather have a Tempered Sword for Moth.
Yeah, it is definitely a hefty, damage boost, and for being able to do it right then and there, it'd be unconscionable to think you don't do that.
And as we mentioned before, Megawatt is going for the big key chest of Skull Woods, which he did not check the first time he was here. Yeah, Megawatt has had, quite a few unfortunate deaths in this seed. You know what I mean? Had the one in Skull Woods, had the one at the end of Turtle Rock. So he's probably feeling like he's got to make some skips and stuff.
Yeah, and really in terms of the opposite end of things, Yoshi's only real bad time sink was 5 or 6 Moldorm falls. But has turned things around quite dramatically in terms of that. Did not eke out a whole bunch of time lost to Megawatt in the grand scheme of things. And is poised, depending on that pod big key, to potentially keep this very competitive.
And I, of course, stand corrected because Megawatt has no interest in grabbing the Tempered Sword right now. He may do so afterwards. I guess it, if you're comfortable with the Moth fight as is, then it's not really that big a deal. And if you're wanting to grab the Tempered Sword afterwards, it's definitely faster to just mirror once rather than taking the mirror portal twice.
Yeah, so presuming that the fight's not much slower, this is a net time save.
That being said...
Moth has his own plans.
There we go.
All in all, though, not that bad.
And there's our 6th and final pod key. other than the big one, which is, of course, important.
Yeah, and if we could trade smalls for bigs, I think these runners would consider it. There is really the only thing gatekeeping them from finishing this out.
All right, no surprises here. Yoshi going for Meyer, and Megawatt will be grabbing the Tempered Sword from the pedestal here. So this thus ends the sword advantage that Yoshi has.
Yo, but does Yoshi have the bird toss advantage? Look, I live for this meme, all right? Can he make our dreams come true?
Gonna go with a no on that one.
Coward.
I mean, I'd be cowardly too. It's the finals of the league.
I'm kidding, Yoshi. I'm sorry. You're right, Bob. Alrighty, well, Mr. Meyer for Yoshi, as Megawatt here going to opt for the boots checks that we saw from Yoshi earlier.
It's a very, very shiny Meyer 2 there. Yeah. As you stated, going for those King's Room Bonk Rock checks. We know them to both be largely irrelevant.
Yeah, Megawatt at this point probably a little nervous about that pod key. The big key is a handful of locations available to us that are not friendly to check.
Yoshi apparently forgot to hit the crystal switch in Meyer here, so whoops.
Fortunately enough, not being punished on the torches over that, we'll end up getting the items in a slightly unconventional order. We see this happen a lot with racers, though. They really want to avoid the cutscene chest. So we'll see if Yoshi comes back for that.
All right, so Megawatt is actually going to grab the mushroom here off of the Lumberjack Cave, which, if I recall correctly, is the place where Yoshi found the other Turtle Rock key. So that is going to close the go mode gap by 1.
Yeah, and of course, beyond that, the only other keys that are significant between these two runners right now that they have are the 2 GT small keys that Megawatt has at his disposal, which is a very minor time save as you climb up the tower towards the top.
Yep, and Yoshi just closed that one as well. Just picking up another GT key.
Approaching near parity between these two. Now, of course,
there's 3 GT keys now. Lol.
Of course, though, Megawatt does have the advantage of having more dungeons completed at this point. While Yoshi will be done with Misery Mire here shortly, Skullwood's still on the slate, and then both of them still have to go back all the way through Turtle Rock and Pod.
Yeah, so now Megawatt is going to be retracing some of the steps and going over some of the places that he didn't go before. For example, the front of Desert, which is in fact a thing.
Yeah, I think his teammate Jed, having expressed his distaste with avoiding this earlier, probably nearly punching his keyboard at this point. I don't know, I can't speak for you, Jed, on that front, but definitely a very annoying thing to see as a teammate.
Luckily, having seen this from Yoshi already, it's not really going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and pretty quick to do, too, with the equipment loadout we have. All right, no spooky things happening here in the basement of Mr. Meyer, except Yoshi grabbing from around the Stalfos for that bomb. Expert placement.
All right, so Desert is now clear for Megawatt as Yoshi heads to face off against Vitreous using a powder to get that health back and some silver arrows to commence the beatdowns.
Well, blink and you're probably not Vitreous. It's all done there.
All right, Megawatt now heading back over to Turtle Rock, it looks like. We know for a fact that we actually know nothing, but it's likely that what we're looking for is over here in Turtle Rock at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, trying to think of additional things that we were not able to do in other dungeons. We've seen all of Hera, Desert, Eastern. We have almost all of Pod, besides that big key, so those are things we're blocked out there. Swamp we finished, Skull Woods we've cleared out. I think, did both of them skip Mizumire cutscene?
I believe that is correct. I was going to make that point, but yeah, both runners, I believe, skipped the vanilla big key chest of Misery Mire.
Got a very bad feeling about this.
That being said, Megawott is about to check the 2 right side chests in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, statistically speaking, this is a much more likely location for that Pod big key.
And of course, while you're here, you can check it. You can, actually beat the boss.
Yeah, so things you can do versus things you can't do. Numbers and requirement for dungeons notwithstanding, this is kind of the play to make. Nothing on the right side. So that leaves us an available check from earlier, as well as the boss, both of which logically still can hold that big key.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, if it were the cutscene chest, there's a scenario here where Megawott goes all the way to the Pyramid Fairy thinking he's going to find it there.
Ooh, gross.
But that could be a sword difference between the two. Otherwise, I don't think there's any reason that you would expect either of these two to get gold sword.
I mean, if Yoshi mirrors here from Skull Woods after finishing it,
like this would be the time.
Really want the gold sword, they could grab it. I don't know if it's worth it. Like, it's very close in my head, at least. It does save time on Trinex.
Yeah, and if you were going to, there's no other time you would do it from here on.
I just don't know if it saves all of that time.
Yeah, so we'll find out. Megawatt, however, heading on down towards the Trinex fight. We have preserved the key for the vanilla big chest, or vanilla big key chest.
Yeah, and Yoshi, being the much better player than myself, has gone ahead and decided to peace out. I think it looks like there might be a shuffle check going on here.
That's true. We've had it since our first trip here to Turtle Rock, actually, right in the foyer.
So yeah, that's basically the only fetch quest we haven't seen yet.
All right, Trinex versus Shovel. Who would win? Definitely not the Shovel.
So Megawatt is having a little trouble with the back end strats there on Trinex.
Does put things together, though, to take out the first phase. Has a second phase here to worry about, but perfectly healthy for it.
It does look like Yoshi's going to go ahead and go for the hammer pegs and magic bat, which we already know to be useless, and a map of ice. So, whew.
The hunt continues.
Woof, I guess.
Alrighty, well, with those crystals in play, with those pendants and conquered, and the keys outstanding, we are looking at what? Palace of Darkness potentially. Well, no, we've done everything we can in there. What is left?
Did we get the key lock places in Pod? I'm not sure if even Yoshi went for those.
I'm trying to think. We could have potentially not done bow locked.
Pod big key chest is the one that hasn't been checked, apparently.
Ah, yeah. Because they did do Harmless Hellway. All right, well, that is 6 pod keys apiece for both of them. Maybe perhaps in the back of their mind, but Megawatt not going to leave any stones unturned here on the mountain. You don't want to come back up here at all unless you can, avoid it before GT.
Yeah. So Megawatt is about to go take a bit of a coffee break while Yoshi heads over to Turtle Rock to finish that off, not unlike his opponent just a few minutes ago. So I would say that there's definitely an advantage Megawatt here, as long as doesn't keep getting distracted by one-off checks.
Well, you mentioned the scenario earlier where we could potentially save scum the chest in the vanilla big key location for Turtle Rock. Maybe Yoshi will consider that on this pass.
It's possible. Well, I wouldn't do that when you're trying to beat the dungeon, though. That's the thing. Because basically, previously the idea was you're going to be leaving the area anyway, and that's why you can just save it, or you can just reset afterwards. But here you're going to want to go straight to the end. So I don't know. Oof. Yoshi accidentally used the ice rod there for a second, but luckily that's not a huge deal.
So with the locations kind of dwindling at this point, a handful of one-off weird things to do, as you mentioned before, Bob, between the lava chest and I'm trying to think what else we got right now. Cutscene?
Yeah, cutscene chest is all I can think of at the moment. They've been very, very thorough.
Well, perhaps we can get our guesses in chat for that. Will it be...
that big, the big key chest of pod itself. Vanilla pod big key, which would be dumb.
Yes. If we eliminate one of those options, perhaps we can do another prediction. But between the 3 remaining item locations, this has turned into quite the heated race, as once Yoshi's completed this dungeon, they are effectively on par until one of them finds that key.
So I honestly expect Megawatt here after this to go for the Pyramid Fairy check. It seems like the next play you would do. Oh no, he's going to pod.
Now this is a pretty
because he didn't actually get to clear out. He didn't get to check either of the key locked locations.
Right, because he had less keys at the time when he came in here before. So with 6 keys at his disposal, he'll get a full clear here. Whether or not we have that big key determines whether we see the boss or the big chest. But I think if you find it, you just go to the boss.
And he's also going for the Sahasrara check, which will mess up his menu as well.
Regrettable. Well, an hour and 42 minutes into this race, these two have put on quite the display to try and full clear the game, it seems, at this point. If you've been enjoying this broadcast and want to support these two who are putting on the race for you, please, by all means, give Megawott and Yoshi a follow. They're definitely top contenders in the league, and after all, they're in the finals. So yeah, definitely check them out.
And for that matter, the whole teams, because they couldn't have got here without the rest of their teams.
And as we see a Trinex fight from Yoshi here, I also want to make a big shout out for our tracker today, our Terrell. Key Sanity is not fun to track, so we appreciate you keeping us, on point with the information. And there it is, Megawatt with the big key in its vanilla location of Palace of Darkness. Hits go mode.
Well then, that is a thing.
This is really rough for Yoshi at this point, as Turtle Rock could have been returned to afterwards. Of course, Megawatt's already done Turtle Rock at this point. So unless Yoshi heads directly there now, this looks to be Megawatt's race to lose.
So Yoshi only left that one chest, whereas Megawatt left a couple. So he was more inclined to head there. we'll see where this flute goes to. I mean, from Yoshi's standpoint, it's probably either 5 or 6, and it is 5. So good for Yoshi, as go mode will be achieved shortly.
Alrighty, well, Megawatt has a healthy advantage here. Basically, a dash to the boss as a difference maker at this point, which in pod is not insignificant. That's about 6 or 7 rooms. Whether or not GT climb ends up going as smoothly remains to be seen. We are pretty well equipped.
I mean, how salty are you if you're Yoshi, where you made the decision, do I do Harmless Hellway or do I do the big key chest, and you did Harmless Hellway?
Yeah, it's not a great feeling at all. And of course, he's going to find it out right now, so I mean, it's not like the mystery is going to remain for him. Yoshi, maybe a good minute and a half, 2 minutes later, finding his final key of the game. We also get a blue potion from Helmasaur King, which is actually really useful in this scenario. They may have blue mail, but that's a excellent safety for the end of the game.
All right. So Yoshi grabbing the vanilla big key in pod. So yet another vanilla thing in this seed, along with the swords, though that was as intended by the runners.
As intended by the runners and the devs. That is where we were expected to find it. Well, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. All of Season 3 has built up to this point. Can Megawatt close it out for the Phendrana Drifters against Yoshi of Triple Dino Disaster, take a 3-1 victory here in the final series?
And it is definitely Megawatt's play to lose here. I don't expect anything bad to happen to either runner, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. So the race is not completely over, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we have seen quite a few weird things happen to people in GT and in Ganon. So if you are a Triple Dino Disaster fan, please do not lose hope. It is not over until we see that Triforce. Megawatt heading on through the Lionels onto GT as we see Yoshi finishing up the Helmasaur King fight here in a moment. Seven crystals to the 17 smacks of Yoshi's hammer onto Helmasaur King's mask. Looking like a pretty efficient fight, and he needs all the time he can save possibly here. Now, of course, not your usual GT that you see in a lot of the other races of this tournament, particularly the first round matchups for these playoffs. But being Key Sanity and having all the keys that we can possibly hope for, we're heading right up top.
Absolutely. So as Yoshi is grabbing the final crystal, Megawatt is dealing with Ganon's tower, just heading directly inside. So, Megawatt will be quite a bit up the tower, if not nearly to the top, by the time Yoshi gets in.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where you see what you're made of. Megawatt here, of course, knows based on the racetime.gg room that his opponent is not done, or at least not click the done button. And in GT, when you have that information, I mean, he may have just minimized it completely because, sometimes you just don't want to know that and put yourself off in any way.
All right, so we do see a bit of a divergence in the routing here between Yoshi and Megawatt. Yoshi taking the Super Bunny Cave up Death Mountain instead of going through Paradox Cave. I have been told that it has been timed and Paradox Cave is going to be faster, especially if you've already opened the portal on Turtle Rock. That being said, I'm not Yoshi, and Yoshi is in the finals, so...
Yeah, Yoshi, of course, for those who don't remember or weren't tuned in, was a Season 2 champion, so this is a second championship bout for him after a very dominant season from both of these teams.
And there we go. Yoshi getting to the entrance of Ganon's Tower. Will be entering approximately 4 floors behind.
Oh, I should amend that previous statement. Season 1 and 2, Yoshi was part of both teams.
Well, that's not even fair. No, I'm kidding.
Well, Megawatt here to dethrone the king, it would appear.
Yeah, if this proceeds as it appears to be proceeding, that would be the case.
Megawatt making his way through Torches 2 with a little bit of a delay. We'll see if he ends up trying to get a magic refilled. Nope, he's going to go right up there and avoid the Ganon's Tower despawn glitch. Phendrana Drifters fans perhaps breathing a sigh of relief as he depletes his last magic to get to the mini Helmus here.
Yep. So if you didn't have full health, you could do some fake powder shenanigans here with the real powder to get the power of the anti-fairies, but there's no reason to do so if you're already full on health. And of course, with the full magic refill in there, that's not a big deal either.
Wait, Bob, fake powder being relevant? This isn't NMG.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I've seen people do it in the NMG run, so yeah. For half a second there, it looked like Megawatt was about to do the hover thing, but nah.
Yeah, game 3 opting to just focus on doing what's in front of him. And not going to opt to open up the final chest of the game either, as there's really nothing besides maybe red mail that could even help you. Agamemnon 2, as we see Yoshi through Gauntlet 4 and 5 here.
I don't know how that fire rod shot didn't kill that that Stalfos.
Yeah, fortune not favoring him there. Megawatt getting an unfortunate deflection of the blue ball attack, which actually delays the warp animation for that the real Aghanim.
Oof. We're getting on to about a 4th cycle here, but there we go. Megawatt finishing off Aga 2. Roughly, basically the finish time on Aga 2 there is Yoshi was entering the same room that Megawatt was in when Yoshi entered the tower.
Yeah, so looking at it here, Yoshi will make it up to the top of the tower as Megawatt's jumping into the Ganon fight here, an hour 52 minutes into this race. This finals game 4, potentially last of the series if things hold up the way Megawatt's looking at.
I mean, can we just talk about all dungeons key sanity in less than 2 hours, because that's not an easy feat.
Kind of wild.
Like it, you know, I've known people who've done it. Like there's probably plenty of runners who regularly do that. But again, wow, he was on one heart for a second there. That was a bit of a clinch scenario for Megawatt.
And still a little clinch-like. Of course, you know, he did avoid the Ganon hug there at the last moment, but that would have actually been enough to put him within 1 hit territory. So 1+1 cycle successfully accomplished for Megawatt here. It is a fast fight, just a little scary with that bottle required for recovery.
All right, and Yoshi will be heading for the Aga 2 fight. Probably going to enter it right around the time Megawatt finishes here. Megawatt playing it safe a bit, but getting the 4th hit, and there it goes. We have it. Megawatt finishing first place with an official time of 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 37 seconds. That means the Phendrana Drifters will be the champions of Invitational League Season 3 for the Link to the Past Randomizer. Congratulations.
And we are actually joined by the Season 3 World Champion of, I say that, World Champion, absolutely, of the Link to the Past Randomizer League, Megawatt. Congratulations, GG.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I forgot to turn my mic on.
Hey, you're too busy turning on the afterjets as you cruise through this one. How are you feeling as a champion?
I haven't stopped shaking since I hit .done. You could argue I haven't stopped shaking since I hit .ready also, but it only just intensified after that. Like, the feeling is still sinking in. It's going to hit me at some point later tonight, possibly tomorrow when I wake up and realize it's not a dream. But I'm very happy.
I imagine that because, we were watching and we saw you take a couple of unfortunate deaths in that seed, and we were sitting here like, oh, he cannot feel good about what's going on here right now. And yet you still, by about an hour and 20 minutes in, you had established an unbeatable lead at that point.
So I think the elephant in the room everyone wants to talk about, Megawatt, you were 12-0, Season 3. How does it feel to be at the very top of the heap at the best of the game? As far as I think anybody can objectively state at this point. Your whole team.
It just means I'm going to be washed up next season. That's what it means, right?
Hey, I mean, Yoshi did back-to-back, and, he's here.
It's true. Maybe I can be the next Yoshi, but maybe that's just wishful thinking. Either way, though, I'm absolutely astounded that not only were we able to win this season, but I was able to boast the record that I currently have, which is 12-0, like you mentioned.
That's just gross.
Blows my mind. That I was never unfortunate. Like, I just wasn't ever unlucky in a way that cost me a race this season. And that was a big factor. Like, last season during the playoffs, I felt like every time I played, I just got super unlucky in some way or another. And it just never happened this season, and I have no idea why, but I'm all for it.
All right, just throwing this out there for the broadcast, we did officially see Yoshi finish on stream with an official time of 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 52 seconds. So a grand total of 2 minutes and 15 seconds separating the two runners here for this final match. What a race. That's all I'm saying. What a race.
Yeah, and an incredible season. We saw it pointed out elsewhere in chat that your team is 23-3, which is an astounding record for any format.
Oh yeah, I definitely wasn't the only one on my team with a good record this season. Like, none of us took a loss until, I want to say, conference finals, basically the overall semifinals of the whole league. And then even then, we only lost 3 games. I think Frostbite lost 1, Jet lost 2, and that's it. And it's like, it's just absolutely, sorry if it sounds like a broken record, mind-blowing for that to have happened.
I think you have earned the right to say it as you wish. All right, well, we're receiving information that Yoshi is going to head over to the German Restream first to do his interview, as we're also being broadcast on SpeedGaming Deutsch and I believe Espanol as well, right?
I believe so, yeah.
But so we'll end up getting words from them in a moment. I believe I see your teammate Frostbite in the waiting room. I'm going to go ahead and encourage them to come up. And we are joined by another teammate from Fendrana Drifters, Frostbite. GG, congratulations on winning the entire season.
Hey, thanks, Uday. That was one heck of a race. It feels so awesome. You play this game so much, and it's not like it's like super serious and professional and all that, but you obviously want to do well, and this season went great for us. And specifically, I know Mega himself up a little bit about last year. I think he didn't feel like he played to his potential. You made up for it this year, dude. Awesome run, awesome whole league all the way around, and yeah, it feels great. And GG's Yoshi and the other guys as well. It was a good series, and yeah, it feels really awesome. But it was really nerve-wracking. I'm like in the middle of making dinner and my iPad's dead, so I'm like running downstairs to put something in the oven. Then I'm running back upstairs to look back at, has he found the fire rod yet? Has anyone found the fire rod yet? And I'm just happy it turned out in our way, because I think the exercise was good for me, but the it's always better to be the guy in the chair than watching, right? So like, it's really nerve-wracking, but it was awesome, and I'm super happy.
So, Megawatt, can I ask you about your decision in the seed? So when you went and read what the 5 and 6 crystals were, and then the next 2 dungeons you finished were Swamp and Eastern.
Yeah.
And at that point, you decided to go to Ice Palace, and decided, you know what, I don't want that extra sword. Don't care.
So the driving decision behind that, well, obviously I had Canis Maria, I had an Ice Palace big key and a small key to make for a nice ideal Ice Palace clear. And on top of the fact that I had already done Castle Tower completely, and I'd already swept everything around that area. So aside from the sword and like the one item, it was a pretty heavy time investment for relatively little in return, because I figured I'd be fine on my current equipment facing Cold Stare or whatever else, because I also had silvers off of Armos. But, and then, so basically I wanted to see if I could make the pedestal sword work instead, because I knew I had one pendant. I think that was like, what, Hera? I was about to clear my green pendant in Ice Palace, and then if I could just like be able to clear the 3rd pendant before ever touching the back of Skull Woods, then I could route that sword in with it instead, and just not ever have to go back to the pyramid for any reason.
Yep,
But
and
yeah,
it worked out.
isolated.
It worked out exactly as you drew it up, to be honest. But yeah, that was a excellent. It was an excellent call as far as the seed goes. I imagine there are some seeds in which it wouldn't have gone quite as well, but yeah, well called. Let's put it that way.
So looking forward, Vendrano Drifter is at the very top of the heap here in Season 3. Season 4, are we expecting all 3 of you to be rejoining us for it?
I don't know. We haven't really talked about Season 4 yet. I know for a fact I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break from competitive rando, just because I can't remember a time within like the last year that I wasn't actively running in some sort of tournament, and it's gotten pretty stressful. So I'm just going to take a nice mental break from the game, maybe play it a bit casually here and there. I don't know when exactly Season 4 plans to happen. I'll probably be done with my break by that point. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff we haven't figured out yet, because that's potentially so far off in the future.
Sounds like a reasonable plan of action. I could definitely see a need to take a break for a minute. I know exactly what you're talking about.
However, I do think I can speak for everybody watching, as well as all of us in the booth, that we will eagerly await that return. Should that break take a little while, we'll be happy to see you again in another competitive format.
All right, so I believe so. We have Schulzer here from
Triple Dino Disaster.
Dino Disaster team. Yoshi's not in here just yet, but yeah.
Yeah, Yoshi's still stuck in a German interview and might join later. But GG Megawatt was a fun race to watch. I think Yoshi had the chance, but threw it by not checking pot when he could basically full clear it without the big key. But yeah, it happens. Took the long 50-50.
But GG's to you guys as well. It's been a blast of a series in the finals. And yeah.
Yeah. Also, just shout outs to actual Vanilla Pod Big Key, just because of course it is.
Yeah, Yoshi had 2 chances in both of the seats where he could had maybe thought it a little bit better, but it just didn't work out, I guess.
Yeah, it was a little unfortunate for Yoshi, as he actually entered when he went to Pod the first time. He had 4 keys, so he could have gotten all of the chests, including the big key chest in there, but he elected to hold on to the 1 key, and therefore got put on a wild goose chase for the big key, as you do.
Well, since we do have Schulzer here, I do want to congratulate you on behalf of the broadcast team here on a wonderful season, getting all the way to the finals here in Season 3 against a very competitive heap. We saw before, of course, that you took on the last locationers who had a first round bye You beat them 3-0, beating out the 2019 Titans Myths 2019 to get here, who also had a very competitive division. Quite an outstanding performance this season. I also want to point out that besides Schulzer and Yoshi, we also have Shireen on Team Triple Dino Disaster. I'm tripping over myself here. And an outstanding performance for everybody this season.
So, did you guys change your name in the middle of the season, or am I just remembering it wrong?
No, I think we called ourselves always the Triple Dino Disaster. I don't think we changed that. But yeah, we had a really tough group. It was so close to even get to the playoffs in the first point, which was my initial goal for this season. So I met my goal. So I'm good at that, at least. And then playoffs were just great. Like sweeping big boots and last occasioners. I never thought that we make it out alive after our division. Like our division was so crazy stacked. I think we basically had the hardest time in the first 7 weeks. It was such as water for the playoff.
Well, so Schulzer, I got to ask you. I mean, because obviously you guys have been through quite the battles to get to this point. I'm looking at the page here on the ALTTPRleague.com of your team, and I got to ask about this team banner. What's the lore behind Shireen being separate of the two of you in that picture? Like, what's going on with that?
Nothing, I guess. I'm obviously leading a spell log for every seed, so I lead much. Wait, no, that did not sound right, I guess.
Well, I mean, I think you, Schulzer, and Yoshi, like in terms of like physical location, I think you two are much closer to each other than Shireen is.
Yeah.
Because I think Shireen is like the middle of the US and you guys are both EU. So
it was still a fun time with Shireen. I think we are probably going back in season 4 with the same team. Not quite sure, but it probably happens again. And let's see how far we can get there. Second place is a great achievement in my first big appearance in the main tournament, I guess. So I'm completely fine with the outcome. It's a lot of fun this entire season. Looking forward to season 4.
So we see Yoshi here in chat. He says that it is in fact bedtime. So so we will probably not hear from Yoshi. But again, thanks for stopping by, Schulzer, to talk about the season for us. And again, congratulations on second place here.
Yeah, at least I got my game 5 against Chet anyways on Friday. So let's see if I could have made a difference, if Yoshi would have pulled us through.
Well, hey, I mean, sometimes you gotta answer those what-if questions, right?
Yeah, it's still a different place that we are playing. Like now we are knowing that it basically does nothing. Its stakes are not that high, but it will be fun. We have a fun mode that we choose.
Well, I think we'll all be excited for that.
So what are the modes there? Just to give us a preview.
Swordless, Randomizer, Sanity, Fast Cannon.
Gross. But also fun. Yeah.
Well, folks, if you want to see that, you got to follow these runners to actually see that raise.
But yeah, fun times. Make top 2 in the league is like. I think we had overall more tough opponents than Fentana Drifters, but to be the best, you have to defeat everyone, so that did not work out. So I guess GG's.
Either way, definitely a thing that you can hang your hat on at the end of the season. Once again, congratulations to both teams for their impressive performance. Now, I think at this point, it'd be a good time for us to reveal an admin hiding in the shadows here in this call. I believe we are joined by Dante.
How's it going, guys?
Dante.
So, on behalf of the administrative team, I had to use a big word there. Congratulations to the Fendrana Drifters on an impeccable season of basically wiping the floor with everybody. I will eat crow. I made a prediction when we did our bracket reveal stream that they had been winning so much that a loss may send them off the rails, and they took that figurative hit on the chin in stride. It bounced back, going to game 5 against Shacktool's digging game, and then all the way to game 4 here against Triple Dino Disaster. So congrats to you guys for hanging tough and basically just running the train. Absolutely incredible. We are I'm going to say something I said at the end of season 2, and this time I think I'm going to be correct when I say it. League season 4 should be later in 2021. So later this year.
Oh.
We will see about dates. We'll get into planning mode. While we're in planning mode, obviously the big headliner, the main tournament, obviously is starting back up. We announced that live here during game 1. Everyone who's in competitive rando, go support that. I'm sure there's going to be other tournaments as well in between the main tournament and League season 4. But we're going to get hard at work to make season 4 awesome. We've gotten feedback from people. We do have a forum on the Discord. That is kind of the only place we're accepting any legitimate feedback. So feel free to fill that out, and the admins will take a look at it. We'll figure out how things are going to go forward from here. But again, on behalf of the red names, congrats guys, and congrats to Triple Dino Disaster for making an admirable run and getting all the way to 2nd.
Yep. So I want to go ahead and announce officially. I want to announce the 3 runners that were on Fendron Drifters. We may not have made a big deal. We said we had Frostbite 3030 here. We had Megawatt, and I believe the 3rd member of Fendron Drifters is Jet 82 or Jet 082.
That is correct.
The 3 of you, congratulations again on the win. Again, congratulations to Triple Dino Disaster for coming in 2nd. And yeah, I also am going to be looking forward to that 4th season and the upcoming main tournament starting in March. So everybody be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a time. It's going to be a good time, I hope.
Yeah, and I'll make my own personal plug for that. We are always looking for volunteers on pretty much every major tournament. I personally do some stuff with commentary in the main tournament, but if you enjoyed the commentary you saw in this league, you're definitely welcome to apply those skills or even try to learn some more to join us over the main tournament and then season 4 for the league. So folks, keep an eye out for volunteer opportunities if you're interested in helping out making these restreams possible. I know for a fact that the amount of randomizer you see on Twitch would not even be possible without a lot of people being involved in it. So I'd like to take this moment to thank all of the people who helped organize this league. And I know we'll be seeing you again shortly when it comes to the main tournament here in just about another month or 2. So yeah, keep an eye out on all of these servers for volunteer pings. You're going to see some stuff from that in the main tournament, and then I imagine beyond a shadow of a doubt, you'll see a lot of that going on for season 4 here in the Link to the Past Randomizer League.
All right. Anything else that the runners would like to say before we call it a stream here? Just making sure. And with that, I want to say thank you once again to everybody for watching here. Thank you to our runners. Thank you to our tracker, our Carol, for keeping track of everything on the screen. And, a quick thank you to everyone at the SpeedGaming Networks for hosting this tournament here. Without which, without the SpeedGaming channels, I don't think Randomizer would be as big as it is today. And of course, thanks to my co-commentator, Eudaimonistic. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Dr. Baltastic, it has been an absolute pleasure of mine as well. And I'm looking forward to the next opportunity we can share the mic. And maybe viewers like you. So keep an eye out for stuff. I think that's about it for us today. Congratulations again to our Season 3 victors and everybody who participated. We're looking forward to seeing you in another randomizer seed soon. So don't go away. And of course, if you're interested in watching the Invitational finals, we still have those on the slate, I believe.
I mean, yeah, I actually don't know about the state of that, and I haven't seen a sign up for it, but we will get that to you.
Yeah, so Boomer Friendly versus Oops the Warasaknik is going to have their game, I believe, 3 and 4, scheduled for a doubleheader on Saturday. If you're interested in seeing that, or even commentating for it, get your signups in. There's last opportunity for the Season 3 League. You could see the matches between Leviticus versus Ramond or Death King versus Don Venier to close out the invitation or the open side of the league.
It is, in fact, game 4 and 5, apparently. And just throwing this out there, so Don Venier also was a finalist in the Go Mode mentor tournament for the Overworld Glitches thing that just happened. So getting to the finals of 2 separate major tournaments, that's a pretty big achievement. That being said, thank you all once again for watching. I will just say that I've been Dr. Bobtastic, and I will see you all at a later occasion.
And I've been you, Diamonistic. Have a wonderful night, folks.